What do you call a bond issued by a country at war? A conflict of interest. Welcome to episode 4 of Econ with Phantom. We switched it up a little. This week, I want to talk about bonds. Not police bonds, bonds by boss. When the Bank of Zambia announces that they're selling bonds, usually there's an excitement that comes to it. They advertise on social media, they post on their page. People get excited, but why? What's so special about a bond? Well, to get a big idea, first of course, we need to consider the fundamentals. There are various kinds of bonds, but for today's episode, we'll be looking at the monetary kind, the ones that are issued by BOS. In its simplest form, a bond is simply a loan where you have a seller, the Bank of Zambia, borrowing money from the public who are buyers. Now, there's an agreement that is arranged between the sellers and the buyers with specified amounts of interest that are paid on the principal at set future dates. And then at the date of maturity, what happens is that the principal plus the interest is paid all together. This may sound shady face value, but as we proceed, you will understand that this is actually arguably one of the wisest investments you could make. I'm talking about Zambia, I don't know the story abroad. If it's not clear by now, I'd like to point out my interest and at times seemingly never-ending intrigue in monetary economics. An absolute wealth of information. Monetary economics seems to be the gift that keeps on giving. Truthfully, with an understanding of monetary economics, so much is put into perspective. Anyway, currently, the Bank of Zambia, otherwise known as BOS, issues these bonds, also known as government securities, on a competitive basis and a non-competitive basis. Now, don't panic, I'll unpack it for you. The competitive government bonds are referred to as competitive because direct participants make a bid on the bond. The minimum amount that can be auctioned by the Bank of Zambia for this specific bond is 500,000 kwacha, and the period of maturity must be more than a year. Bids for competitive bonds are required by the Bank of Zambia to be made in multiples of 5,000 kwacha. This means participants make a bid in 5,000 kwacha, 10,000 kwacha, 15,000 kwacha, and so on. For instance, when purchasing a certain amount of bonds, let's say with base value of 500,000 kwacha, you can only bid on the bond in increments of multiples of 5,000, basically like an auction. Furthermore, these bonds are referred to as competitive because the purchaser of the bond can specify the amount of interest that they are willing to get from that bond. So let's say the Bank of Zambia is giving a base value interest of 5%, and then this person comes on and says, I can have 4.5%. That to the Bank of Zambia will seem more lucrative as the person is demanding less interest and the Bank of Zambia is paying less. Now, different arrangements of businesses can vary with different people. It just depends with what they want. Now we also have this other aspect called the non-competitive bonds, or otherwise known as the treasury bills. Treasury bills are a form of short-term bonds that are issued by the government for less than a period of a year. The maximum amount for a treasury bond, or a treasury bill rather, is 499,000 kwacha to the dot. The competitive bids must be made in multiples of 1,000, meaning to 1,000 kwacha, to 2,000 kwacha, and 3,000 kwacha, and so on. By the way, if you are enjoying the podcast, well, even if you're not, a honest review and preferably a positive rating would be competitive. Well, now that we've understood the fundamentals, let's go a bit further. These sums seem so substantial. Can an ordinary person like you be eligible? Well, you'd be surprised. Categorically, both say individuals on their eligibility list, so we can indeed get bonds for ourselves. But then, is investing in government securities and bonds worth it? Especially from the Bank of Zambia? Well, let me make a case here, and please hear me out. The first and most undeniable point is the safety of such investments. Government bonds are considered as some of the safest investments that can be made by a person, safer than stocks, shares, or even the volatile cryptocurrencies. This is because bonds are backed up by a central bank, in this case BOS, which is owned by the government, backed by a government. Bond investments provide minimal risk of the central bank defaulting on interest payments or, in fact, principal payments. The interest, also known as the coupon rate, a fixed annual interest payment that bondholders receive based on the initial value of the purchased bond and the agreement with the Bank of Zambia, also offers a predictable and stable income stream. Bonds offer substance to the phrase money making money. They offer a source of passive income for some and an active income for others. Investment portfolios as well can be diversified. Investing in shares, stocks, or even in cryptocurrencies sometimes can be really volatile as markets can collapse. People lose trust and companies, they fail, unfortunately. Investing in bonds lowers the risk, seeing that the investment is spread out. In some instances, countries may offer tax incentives like complete removal or tax cuts on bonds, intending to encourage the purchasing of bonds by their people. Arguably, it's a win-win situation for both parties. Government bonds are amongst the most stable investments available to man. Securities are less influenced by market changes because they are directly protected by a central bank. So climate shocks, news affairs, changes in the market conditions, they don't directly affect bonds and they are definitely protected. Now, I want you to pay attention. Increase the volume if you have to. Securities are accessible to small investors. Typically, they are available to a wide range of individuals like you and me, from the competitive ones to the non-competitive ones, allowing a wide range of people, from the ballers of Lusaka to the actual ballers who play in Division 1, to afford them. Yes, that was a dry joke. I will proceed now. The arguments have been made. Bonds defined, coupon rate explained. It seems lucrative, but how do you get a bond? Well, say less, innit, bruv? Step 1. Be good at math. Well, just kidding. Though realistically, being able to add, multiply, and subtract, also to divide, would be an added advantage. Firstly, you need to have an account with a bank, a local bank to be specific, a local commercial bank to be more specific. For instance, you can have a bank account with a big, strong, reliable Zanaco. You can have a bank account with ABSA, the African City. You can also have a bank with the changeables, FNB. You can also have a bank with Indo, though I don't know that thing. Yeah. Secondly, you need to register on the Central Securities Depository at the Bank of Zambia. You can do this by filling out a form and submitting it to your local commercial bank. Or if you're feeling bored, you can take it to boss themselves, and if you're too shy, you could always email it to them. The document can be downloaded online. All you have to do is search in quotation application form individual investor securities depository end quotation. After successfully applying, you can now buy the bonds, as many as you would like. You can either purchase the bougie competitive bonds or the subtle low-key competitive ones. It doesn't matter, they are all bonds. We're just trying to get people into the bond age. Of course, don't forget to pay up. Boys need that paper. They need that too. Payments can be made through your local commercial bank, and once they're done, you will receive certification clarifying that you are now a bondholder. Yes. And finally, sit back and wait for the maturity date to come. Those who pay out your bond face value plus interest on the specified date. Oh, can't wait? Well, you could always sell your bond to someone through your commercial bank or through a licensed broker. Yes, please, and do this legitimately through the clear market, not the black market. Do we have like a white market? Or please do comment and tell me if we have a white market. I'd love to know. Anyway, lingering thought. Why did you bother making this episode? Well, it's quite simple. You see, providing understanding ironing out misconceptions, moving people from a place of unknowing to a place of knowing is a goal of Econ with Phantom. So go out and buy bonds, make investments, learn to save, let your money work for you. It starts now. Cheers for clicking. Cheers for sharing your honest critiques. You guys have given me amazing responses, honestly. Making people know is the goal of this podcast. Well, until then, Sevenza. Understand the fundamentals. Phantom out.